And here we are again, another episode of Watership Down. That's right, we just did episode 27, part 1 and 2, and now we're going to do episode 28, At the Foot of the Hill, it's called. But before we do that, I managed to, believe it or not, somebody made a comment about the last 2 Watership Downs I've done. Amazing. Somebody actually commented. And they said, the story you told about Efrafa reminds me of prisoner of war camps from a la World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam. And I says, well, these guys in Efrafa is far more badass than any of those prisoner of war camps and the nations that dealt with them. Nobody, I would say, in the animal world would stand a chance. Nobody would stand a chance. Not even the gun bunnies. These guys would not stand a chance in Efrafa at all. Even Busty Bunny would not stand a chance in Efrafa. Playboy Bunny would not have a chance in Efrafa. Bad Bunny, Finger Bunnies. Nobody stands a chance in Efrafa. So how are these, our bunny heroes, are going to get through this? They can't call on Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny, man, he'd be done. He's done. He's out. He's exit stage left, so there's no help from him. So, what are they going to do? And that is why we are at chapter 28. Audiobook done very badly by me because I can't pronounce half the stuff inside this damn thing. But for the adult commentary, I don't know why it's adult commentary, because I myself is not even an adult. I think. Anyway, we're going to get to this. It's called At the Foot of the Hill, chapter 28. Watership Down. You're not too tired to souffle, are you? Asked Dandelion. And at the proper time of day for a change. It's a lovely evening. If my nose says right, gotta try it. Not to be more miserable than we can help, you know. Just before we souffle, said Bigwig, I can tell you, Holly, and I don't believe anyone else would have brought himself and 3 other rabbits safely back out of a place like that. Fred meant for us to get back, replied Holly. That's the real reason why you're here. As he turned to follow Speedwell up the run that led into the wood, he found Clover beside him. You and your friends must make it feel strange to go outside and eat grass, he said. You'll get used to it, you know, and I can promise you that Hazel was right when he told you it's a better life than in the hutch. Come with me and I'll show you a patch of nice short-tailed grass. If Bigwig hasn't had it all while I've been away. It's Captain Holly. Holly had taken to Clover. She seems more robust and less timid than Boxwood and Haystack, and was eventually doing her best to adapt herself to Warren life. What her stock might be, he could not tell, but she looked healthy. Oh, is Holly making the moves on a rabbit chick? One of only 2 inside of a warren of 10 or $11 total. Oh boy. It sounds like there's going to be some fighting going on. I'd like it underground, all right, said Clover. as they came up for fresh air. "The closed space is really very much like a hutch, except that it's darker. The difficult thing for us is going to be feeding in the open. We are not used to being free and go out like where we like and we don't know what to do. You all act so quickly, and half the time I don't know why. I prefer not to feed very far from the hole, if you don't mind." They moved slowly across the sunset grass, nibbling as he went. Clover soon absorbed in feeding, but Holly stopped continuously to sit up and sniff about him at the peaceful empty down. When he noticed Bigwig, a little way off, staring fixedly at the north, he at once followed his gaze. "What is it?" he asked. "It's Blackberry," replied Bigwig. You sound relieved. Blackberry came hopping slowly down from the skyline, and he looked tired, but soon he saw the other rabbits and he came on faster and made his way to Bigwig. "Where have you been?" asked Bigwig. "Where's Fiber? Wasn't he with you?" "Fiber's with Hazel," said Blackberry. "Hazel's alive, but he's been wounded. It's hard to tell how badly, but he won't die." The three other rabbits looked at him speechlessly. Blackberry waited, enjoying the effect. "Yeah, bro, the boss is kind of alive, but he's kind of like jacked up." "Yo. Hazel's alive?" said Bigwig. "Are you sure?" "Quite sure," says Blackberry. "He's at the foot of the hill at this very moment, in that ditch that you were the night Holly and Bluebell arrived." "I can hardly believe it," said Holly. "If it's true, it's the best news I've ever heard in my life. Blackberry, are you really sure what happened? Tell us." Well, Fiber found him," said Blackberry. Took me with him all the way back to the farm, and then he went along the ditch, and he found Hazel has gone ground up in a land drain. He's very weak from loss of blood, and he couldn't get out of the drain himself, so we had to drag him by his one good leg. He couldn't turn around, you see." "How on earth did Fiber know?" "How does Fiber know he knows? We better ask him. But when we got Hazel into the ditch, Fiber looked at his leg and he was hurt. Got a nasty wound in the one hind leg, but the bone isn't broken. He's torn along one side. He's cleaned up some places best we could, and we started to bring him back. It has taken the whole evening. Can you imagine it? Daylight, dead silence, and a lame rabbit reeking of flesh blood. Luckily, it's been the hottest day and with this summer, and not a mouse stirring. Time and again, we had to take cover in the cow parsley and rest. It was all on the jump. But Fiber was like a butterfly on a stone. He sat in the grass, combed his ears. Don't get upset, he kept saying. There's nothing to worry about. We can take our time. After what I seen, I believed him, if we could say we could hunt foxes. But when we got to the bottom of the hill, Hazel was completely finished and he couldn't go any further. He and Fiber's taken shelter in the overgrown ditch, and I can tell you, and here I am. There was silence while Bigwig and Holly took in the news, and at last, Bigwig said, Will they be here tonight? I think so, replied Blackberry. I'm sure Hazel won't be able to manage the hill until he's a good deal stronger. I'll go down there, said Bigwig. I can help make a ditch a little more comfortable. Perhaps Fiber will be able to do with something else to help to look after Hazel. Well, I should hurry then, if I were you, said Blackberry. The sun goes down soon. Ah, huh, said Bigwig. Well, if I meet a stoat, you better look out, that's all. I'll bring one of you back tomorrow, shall I? And he raced off and disappeared over the hedge. Let's go and get the others together, said Holly. Come on, Blackberry, you have to tell me the whole thing from the beginning. Three-quarters of a mile of blazing heat, and then from the nut hanger, to the foot of the hill cost Hazel more pain and effort than anything in his life. If Fiber had not found it, he would have died in the drain. When Fiber's urging had penetrated his dark ember stupor, he had first actually tried not to respond. It was far easier to remain where he was on the other side of suffering, the far side of the suffering he had undergone. Later, he found himself lying in the green gloom of the ditch, with Hazel searching his wounds and assuring him he can stand and move, but not to face the idea of getting off to return. His torn side throbbed, and the pain in his leg seemed to affect his senses. The guy got shot in the leg. I'd be pretty cranked, wouldn't you? All right. He felt dizzy and could not hear or smell properly. At last, he understood that Fiber and Blackberry had risked the second journey to the farm in the broadest of daylight, solely to find him and save his life. He forced himself to his feet and began to stumble down the slope towards the road. His sight was swimming, and he had to stop again and again. Without Fiber's encouragement, he would have laid down once more and given up. In the road, he could not climb the bank and had to limp along the verge until he could crawl under a gate. Much later, as they came under the pylon line, he remembered the undergrowth ditch at the foot of the hill and set himself to reach it. Once there, he lay down and once again returned to sleep of total exhaustion. This guy's now like 80 years old. When Bigwig arrived, just before dark, he found Fiber snatching a quick feed in the long grass, and it was out of the question to disturb Hazel by digging, and they spent the night crouched beside him in the bare floor. Coming out of the gray light before dawn, the first creature Bigwig saw was Kihar, foraging between the elders. He stamped to attract his attention, and Kihar sailed across to him with one beat of his wings in a long glide. Mr. Bigwig, you find Miss Hazel? Yes, said Bigwig. He's in the ditch here. He not dead? No, but he's wounded and very weak. The farm man shot him with the gun, you know. You get black stones out? What do you mean? Every gun sees coming little black stones you never see? No, I don't know about guns. Take out black stones, eat better. He come now, yeah? I'll see, said Bigwig. He went down to Hazel and found him awake talking to Fiber. When Bigwig told him that Kihar was outside, he dragged himself up the short run into the grass. This damn gun, said Kihar, is but little stones we heard. I look, yeah? Suppose you better, said Hazel. My leg's still very bad, I'm afraid. He lay down, and Kihar's head flicked from side to side, as always looking for snails in Hazel's brown fur. He peered closely up the length of the torn flank. He These not stones here, he said. Go in, go out, no stop. Now I see you leg. Maybe hurt you? Not long. 2 shotgun pellets is buried in the muscle of the hunch. Keyhard detected them by smell and removed them exactly as we'd be picking spiders out of a crack. Hazel barely had time to flinch before Bigwig was snipping at the pellets in the grass. Now is more bleed, said Keyhard. You stay, wait, maybe day, 2 day. Then good like before. Those rabbits up there, I'll wait for Mr. Hazel. I'll tell him he come. And he flew off before they can reply. Shit. These rabbits on Watership Downs got their own Air Force. Royal Air Force. As things turned out, Hazel stayed 3 days at the foot of the hill at the hot summer continued. Much of the time he sat under the elder branches, dozing above the ground like some solitary Halessil. Remember, rabbit outside, no holes, no warren by himself. He be survivalist, and felt his strength returning. Fiber stayed with him, keeping the wounds clean and watching his recover. Often they would say nothing for hours together, lying in the rough grass suns in the meadow, moved into evening until the last local blackbird cocked its tail, tucked away to roost. Neither spoke of the nut hanger farm, but Hazel showed plainly enough that the future Fiber, when he gave advice, was no hard task to get him to accept it. Hold on. Okay. Hey, LaRue, said Hazel one evening, what would he be done without you? Maybe none of us here, would we? Are you sure we are here, then? Asked Fiber. Yeah, it's too mysterious to me, replied Hazel. What do you mean? Well, there's this other place, another country. Isn't there? We go there when we sleep, at other times too, and when we die. El Ra comes and goes between the two as he wants. I suppose that I could never quite make that out from the tales. Some rabbits will tell you that it's all easy there, compared to the waking dangers that you understand. But, I must think the only shows they don't know much about. It's a wild place and very unsafe. Were we really there or here? That didn't make any goddamn sense. Our bodies stay here. That's good enough for me. You better go and talk to that Silverweed fellow. You might know more. Oh, you remember him? I felt that we were listening to him, you know. He terrified me, and yet I knew that I would understand him better than anyone else in that place. He knew where we belonged, and it wasn't here. Poor fellow. I'm sure he's dead. They got him, all right, the ones in that country. But they don't give all their secrets away for nothing, you know? But look! Here comes Holly and Blackberry. We better feel sure we're here just for the moment anyway. Again, that not make sense. You ever talk about Cowslips Warren? You remember? All those whack jobs? Watership Down Insane Asylum. Holly came right down the hill the previous day to see Hazel and tell him of his story escape from Efrafa. When he had spoken of his deliverance by the great apparition that night, Fiber had listened attentively and asked one question. Did it make any noise? Later, when Holly has gone back, he told Hazel that he felt sure there was some natural explanation, although he had no idea what it could be. Hazel, however, had not been greatly interested. For him, the important thing is their disappointment and the reason for it. Holly achieved nothing and was entirely due to the unexpected unfriendliness of the Efrafa rabbits. This evening, as soon as we began to feed, Hazel returned to the matter. Holly, he said, we are hardly any nearer to solving our problem, are we? You have done wonders and got nothing to show for it. And the nut-hanger ray was only a silly lark, I'm afraid, and the expensive one for me. At that, the real hole still has to be dug. Well, said Holly, you say it's only a lark, Hazel, but at least you got us 2 does, and they're the only 2 we got. Are there any good? The kind of idea that has become natural to many male human beings in thinking of females. The idea of protection, fidelity, romantic love, and so on are the course unknown to rabbits. Although rabbits certainly form an exclusive attachment much more frequently than most people realize. However, they are not romantic, and it comes naturally to Hazel and Holly to consider the 2 nut-hanger dwarves simply as breeding stock for the warren. This is what they risked their lives for. Now, hold on. Before we go on with this, I read a few years ago about this, and a lot of the feminists made a huge stink over this book about the does. Okay? They made a huge stink about it. That females were seen as objects to be bred. They're treated as second-class citizens. All this other bullshit. And they went right after this book. They went right after Richard Adams. And Richard Adams, all he said, he says, dude, it's just a damn book. It has absolutely nothing to do with anti-feminism, anti-women, anti-anything. Now, if I saw something like this, okay, this is just a figure, okay? Just a figure. Don't take it serious, okay, folks? Okay? This is an anime figure, the Misty May thing. All right. Now, if you as a guy, let's say 18, 19 years old, what would be going through your head? Exactly. Now, that is what, that would be a normal reaction to a guy. He would look up, he would look down, he'd look at her shape, look at her face. But, Watership down, they would see that as only for breeding, for trying to make the Warrens survive. And unfortunately, the feminists do not get this. So, they get it in their head that, they're just messed up people. And like I said, it's just a book, for crying out loud. Anyway, we're going to move on. Well, it's hard to say yet, replied Holly. They're doing their best to settle down with us. Clover in particular. She seems very sensible, but they're extraordinarily helpless, I've never seen anything like it. I'm afraid they might turn out to be delicate in bad weather. They might survive next winter, then again they may not. But you wouldn't know until you got them out of that farm. With a bit of luck, they might be able to have a litter before the winter, said Hazel. I know the breeding season's over, but everything's so topsy-turvy with us here. There's no saying. So, let me ask, if you ask me what I think, said Holly, I'll tell you, I think they're precious little to be the only thing between us and the end of everything we managed to do so far. I think we very well not have any kittens for some time, particularly when it isn't the season and partly because life is so strange to them. And when they do, the kittens will very likely have a lot of this man-bred hutch stock in them. What else we hope for? We must do the best we can with what we got. Has anyone mated with them yet? Oh boy. So if you're talking to a little 10-year-old girl reading this story, she's going to ask, what does that mean? Well, Susan, my dear, my little daughter, that means they're on the bang bus, baby. They're on the bang bus. No, neither of them has been ready so far. But I can see some fine old fights breaking out when they are. We're going to be throwing down, bro, to get some bunny ass. There's another problem. We can't go on with nothing but these 2 does. But what else can we do? You know what we got to do, said Hazel, but I still can't see how. We got to go back and get some does out of Efrafa. You might as well say we're going to get them out of Inlay, Hazel Raw. I'm afraid I haven't give you a very clear description of Efrafa. Oh, yes, you have. The whole idea scares me stiff. But we're going to do it. It can't be done. It can't be done by fighting or fair words. No. So it'd have to be done by means of a trick. There is no trick will get the better of that lot, believe me. There are far more of them than they are of us. They're very highly organized. I'm only telling you the truth when I say they can run, fight, and follow a trail every bit as well as we can, and a lot of them much better. The trick, said Hazel, turning to Blackberry, who is silent at this time, who had all the time been nibbling and listening in silence. The trick will have to do 3 things. First, we have to get the does out of Efrafa. Secondly, we'll have to put a paid to the pursuit, for the pursuit is bound to be, and what we expect, another miracle. But that's not all. Once we're clear of that place, we'll have to become impossible to find beyond the reach of any wide patrol. Yeah. Wide patrol, all right. Yes, says Blackberry doubtfully. Yes, I agree. To succeed, we'll have to manage all those things. Yes, and this trick, Blackberry, is going to be devised by you. Wow. That is one badass dude, let me tell you. Wowie. So, that means the sweet Cameron scent of the dogwood filled the air in the evening sunshine. The insects hummed around the dense white chimes hanging low above the grass. A pair of brown and orange beetles, disturbed by feeding by rabbits, flew off on a grassland, flew away, still coupled together. Talk about screwing bugs. They mate. We don't, says Hazel. Watch them go. A trick, Blackberry. A trick that puts us right and for all. All I could see to do the first thing, said Blackberry. All right. Oh, what's this? What's going on my TV set? What's going on there? What the hell happened? Anyway, at least I think I can. But it's dangerous. The two others I can't see at all yet. I'd like to talk it over with Fiber. The sooner Fiber and I get back to the Warren, the better, said Hazel. My leg's good enough now, but all the same, I think we'll leave for it tonight. Good old Holly will tell them that Fiber and I come early tomorrow morning. It worries me to think that Bigwig and Silver may start fighting over Clover at any minute. Hazel, said Holly, listen, I don't like this idea of yours at all. I've been to Efrafa and you haven't. You're making a bad mistake and you might as well get us all killed. It was Fiber who replied, I ought to feel like that, I know, he said. But somehow it doesn't, not to me. I believe we can do it. Anyway, I'm sure Hazel's right when we say the only chance we got. Suppose we go on talking about it for a bit. Not now, said Hazel. Time for underground down here. Come on. But if you two race up the hill, you'll probably be in good time for some sunshine at the top. Good night. That is the end of Watership Down episode 27. No, 28 actually. So, looks like old Hazel is feeling a little bit better. You know, we can thank Keyhart for getting the things out of his leg. So it's bloody well damn good times. This is Jeff finishing off yet another chapter of Watership Down, done badly by me, and it's going out to y'all. And that's all I got to say.